Exploring the taboo of sex in different cultures, a personal reflection. As I sit down to reflect on the topic of sex and its various taboos across cultures, I can't help but feel a mix of curiosity and bewilderment. Growing up, I was taught that sex is a private matter, something not to be discussed openly. This notion seemed to be reinforced by the cultural norms surrounding me, where conversations about intimacy were often hushed or avoided altogether. However, as I've traveled, interacted with people from diverse backgrounds, my understanding of sex and its cultural significance has evolved. In many Western cultures, sex is often portrayed in a very liberated manner. We see it celebrated in media, from movies to music videos, where it's depicted as a natural part of life. Yet, even in these societies, there are still underlying taboos. For instance, discussions around sexual health, consent, and education can be fraught with discomfort. I remember a friend of mine who was hesitant to discuss her experiences with sexual health issues, fearing judgment. This made me realize that even in seemingly open societies, there are still barriers that prevent honest conversations about sex. Traveling to more conservative cultures, I encountered a stark contrast. In some places, sex is a subject shrouded in secrecy and shame. I recall visiting a small village where the topic of sex was almost non-existent in public discourse. People would whisper about it, but no one dared to speak openly. It struck me how this silence could lead to misinformation and fear. Met a young woman who had grown up in this environment, and she shared her struggles with understanding her own body and desires. Her story illuminated the detrimental effects of such taboos, leaving her feeling isolated and confused. In many cultures, the concept of virginity holds significant importance. I've seen how this can create immense pressure, particularly on young women. In some communities, a woman's worth is often tied to her virginity, leading to harsh judgments and societal expectations. I remember attending a wedding where the bride was celebrated not just for her love story, but also for her purity. It was a beautiful event, yet I couldn't shake the feeling that her value was being measured against an archaic standard. This made me reflect on how different cultures assign meaning to sexual experiences, often creating unnecessary burdens. On the other hand, there are cultures where sex is embraced as a natural and sacred part of life. In certain indigenous cultures, for instance, sexuality is often viewed through a spiritual lens. I had the privilege of attending a gathering where elders spoke openly about the importance of sexual education and respect for one's body. Their approach was refreshing, emphasizing the beauty of intimacy and the need for open dialogue. It made me realize that there are ways to celebrate sexuality without the weight of shame or judgment. One aspect that fascinates me is how religion influences sexual taboos. In many societies, religious beliefs shape attitudes towards sex, often dictating what is acceptable and what is not. I've encountered communities where premarital sex is heavily frowned upon, rooted in deep-seated religious doctrines. This can lead to a clash between personal desires and cultural expectations. I spoke to a young man who struggled with this conflict, wanting to explore his sexuality but feeling bound by his faith. His internal battle highlighted the complexities of navigating personal identity within the confines of cultural and religious norms. Interestingly, I've also seen how globalization is shifting these taboos. With the rise of social media and the internet, conversations about sex are becoming more accessible. Young people in conservative cultures are finding platforms to share their experiences and seek information. I've witnessed this firsthand in online communities where individuals discuss everything from sexual health to relationship dynamics. It's heartening to see how technology can break down barriers and foster understanding even in the most traditional settings. However, this shift is not without its challenges. While some embrace the newfound openness, others resist it fiercely. I've seen backlash against those who dare to challenge the status quo, leading to ostracization or worse. It's a reminder that while progress is being made, there is still a long way to go in dismantling deeply ingrained taboos surrounding sex. As I reflect on my journey, I am struck by the importance of empathy and understanding in discussions about sex. Each culture has its unique narrative shaped by history, religion, and societal norms. It's essential to approach these conversations with an open mind, recognizing that what may seem taboo to one group can be a source of pride or liberation for another. I've learned that by listening to diverse perspectives, we can foster a more inclusive dialogue sexuality, one that respects individual experiences while challenging harmful norms. In conclusion, the topic of sex and its taboos across cultures is a complex tapestry woven with threads of tradition, belief, and personal experience. My exploration has taught me that while taboos can inhibit open discussion and understanding, they can also be challenged and transformed as we navigate this intricate landscape. Let's strive for a world where conversations about sex are met with curiosity rather than fear, where individuals feel empowered to share their stories, and where cultural differences are celebrated rather than shamed. Only then can we hope to create a more inclusive and understanding society, one that honors the diverse expressions of human intimacy.